Okay, Shalom, Shalom, Kwam Yasha Allah, Koholoyimla, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Chachachadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth, and just want to state the water to all the H.I.M and Achwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan Nawak. Just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And I wanted to touch on this article in Fortune with Ray Dalio. It says Ray Dalio just finished a 10-day trip to China. He says global leaders know America doesn't have what it takes to fight to maintain its empire. So what we're witnessing is the fall of our enemy. And they're trying hard to hang on, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, they're going to come down with that great wrath to hang on as well, you know, Revelation 12:12. And you know, it goes up to the elites. They have a plan in progress, you know, that these doofy ass Americans don't understand. You know, mainly those, you know, the small hats are in control. And so it's about to be a whole another hookup here. It says Ray Dalio has spent 42 years visiting China, building relationships with senior officials and studying its political history back to 221 BCE. But after a recent 10-day trip to Beijing, part of the month-long tour of Asia, the Bridgewater Associates founder says something has changed and changed fast. Over the past few months, there has been a big shift in the world order. Dalio wrote in a sweeping essay published June 18th on LinkedIn, where his newsletter has 750,000 subscribers. A truncated version of the piece also previously appeared in the Financial Times. The catalyst in Dalio's telling was the United States handling of Iran's seizure of the Strait of Hormuz. The episode convinced leaders across Asia, including those who host American military bases, of something they had long suspected but never quite said aloud, that the American public does not have the willingness to endure the discomforts of war, and that Washington doesn't have what it takes to fight to maintain its empire. Yeah, because these Americans are stuck in their ways. They like comfort. They're not used to being discomforted or, you know, being in an uncomfortable situation, you know, because they've just gone throughout the world and just been fucking with people, taking people's shit, you know, stealing, killing, robbing, you know, and it really hasn't never affected these so-called Americans. The closest America has ever been to boots on the ground here in America is this particular kind of war, where they're being hit financially. And see, that's what America has done to a lot of other countries as well. You know, when it straight comes down to it, when you look at the sanctionings that America has done, you know, the sanctions of America have killed millions of children, millions of women, millions of men, you know, throughout all the nations that they've been sanctioning. They just don't talk about it, because when you sanction a country and you block out their finances, you block out them getting food, you block out them getting medicines, you block out anything that has to move to make them grow, you know, that kills them. You know, you have to realize a lot of people have died. A lot of children have died. A lot of older people have died. You know, they can't get the medical needs that they need, you know what I'm saying, because they're blocking the shipping. They're sanctioning anybody that, you know, has anything to do with trying to help these countries out. If you try and help them, you're going to get sanctioned too. So you have to realize how many millions of people have actually died from the sanctioning of Esau Edom's kingdom, man. This man has done a lot of damage, man. So, and let me just grab a quick scripture, because really, you know, this is just the fall of Esau's kingdom, and they're not telling the people. They don't want to admit it. Let's get it. Let me see here what we want. Ecclesiasticus 25:7. And this is something we pray for on a day-to-day basis, or you should be praying for. You should be praying for the downfall of Esau Edom's kingdom, man. This is Ecclesiasticus 25:7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And we're witnessing the fall of our enemy. And see China, they think they got next. But they don't have next, man. Next up to bat And the final bat, grand slams, is the children of Israel, man. All through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. The Father is going to send the Son, Yahweh. The Father, Yahweh, is going to send the Son, Yahushai, Salak. And he's going to get us out of this captivity. And there's going to be a rule that's going to come from on top and on high from the Israelites through Yahushai, man. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, this thing is already in motion. And it's already been set up to happen. And it's already happening. And this is what you're witnessing in the world right now, you know. Because these Edomites, they really think that, you know, they're going to survive and come back from this. You know, they're going to put up a great fight. Don't get me wrong. They're going to put up the fight to actually come back. But it's not going to work. It's done, you know, because let me get that second address. And this guy, he travels. He's well studied. He knows about finances. That's what he's into. He's an Edomite that has really flourished during the time of America. And they see these things. It's a lot of different men that's into economists and men that know about the finances and banking of America, and they know that America's falling, and they're saying it. But your regular news channels, these ones that are bought and paid for, they're not explaining to the people that, hey, look, your shit is falling, man, and they're not preparing the people for this fall, So when it happens, a lot of people gonna go ape shit crazy. This is 2 Ezra 6 verse 9. For Esau, that's the biblical name for the so-called white race. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Jacob is the progenitor of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you Israelites. And Esau is the progenitor of the so-called white race, man. So you got the Russians, you got the Ukrainians over there killing each other. Those are Edomites. You got Israel and America. They're probably about the only ones that's kind of stumbling about together, as far as somewhat of some togetherness. And they're not even together because Israel don't like you fucking Americans. They just using you. But they're all Edomites too. So they're just all, playing their part in this movie that the Lord has set up. So it's all caving in, man. And you doofy ass Americans, you about to celebrate this 250th anniversary with them lab grown pork ribs on your damn grill, not knowing that this is it. This is your last hoorah. And again, China, they actually think that they're gonna come through and be next and come up and and make these great strides. Even though I'll tell you what, if the prophecies weren't the way that they are, and things just rolled on the way that it has been rolling on, yeah, China would they already whooping on America. They already ahead of America, technology wise. Shit, even though they eat cat, rat, and dog, they got better foods. Minus the cat, rat, and dog shit. You know what I'm saying? They got a better society as far as order, and that's what America wants too. America wants that kind of order that China has. They want that, that sheer watchfulness over all the people, and they working on it. They're working on it. They working on actually putting a computer chip in all you people, man. So let's go back to some of the article. Let's see what else this guy has to say. Let me get that part back again. He says, the American public does not have the willingness to endure the discomforts of war. Yeah, they fussing about this gas prices. They're fussing about these food prices. They're fussing about all these things going up and getting more expensive. And it's going to get even more expensive. This stuff is not going to go down. It's going to get a lot more uncomfortable. And these are just the uncomfortable things that they're going through as far as, little financial shit. But see, those other countries, they go through financial shit and they go through fucking sirens going off with damn bombs hidden. Run into a damn bomb shelter. Your ass getting pancaked on the 3rd floor. The fucking 6th floor that landed on your ass and you in bed. So there's a lot of that goes on in these other countries. But see, these Americans, they haven't experienced that. But when that thermonuclear fire comes through, they're going to experience it. They're going to. That's the coming, man, of Revelation 11 and 14 when it talks about that third world's woe. You know, World War III. The future for America is nothing but missiles hitting this place, man. And we're about there, man. This place is done. It says, the historical parallel Dalio reaches for is pointed. This situation looks a lot like the British handling of Egypt's taking the Suez Canal, he wrote, which signaled the end of the British Empire. Who is the British Empire? It's the mother of Babylon. The British are the mother of this place. This is the virgin daughter of Babylon. Just like mother, just like daughter. Right? So it says, it is a comparison that Dalio has been building towards for months. In March, he wrote in Fortune that the 2020s feel like the rise of a new type of world order resembling pre-1945 world orders with great powers conflicts and gunboat diplomacy. A view he illustrated with the Bank of America chart tracing 2,000 years of GDP dominance that showed China's current ascent as a return to historical norms, not a disruption of them. What Dalio observed in Beijing was not an adversarial standoff, but rather a diplomatic migration. World leaders, he says, are now traveling to meet President Xi Jinping to build tribute-type relationships, a phrase that is the essay's central thesis. We are, he argued, witnessing the early emergence of a modern version of China's ancient tribute system, a hierarchical, but non-military order in which smaller powers acknowledge Chinese primacy in exchange for economic access and stability. Yeah, because China, China on top right now. China is they're the diplomatic people now. They're the ones that's, that can step in, and they've been kind of stepping up and speaking for the world. When America used to do it, solve fights, solve wars, solve disputes, solve, tensions in certain countries. That used to be something that America was known for doing, you know what I'm saying? But now China has actually stepped in and taken over that position. Even when it comes to, like Pakistan. Pakistan has been a negotiator with this so-called American / Israel / Iran situation, you know what I'm saying, with the negotiations. America is no longer in that category. You got a dude that stands on national TV and cusses people out and calls them names, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he acts like a big ass fucking kid. So it's not working out like that no more for these Americans, man. And going on their 250th anniversary, to see them fall like how they're falling, man, is a beautiful thing. We're happy to see that shit. Right? It says, the diplomatic traffic has been visible. President Trump made a state visit to Beijing in May, a trip that McKinsey, China's practice leaders believe reflects the U.S.-China relationship that is no longer in free fall, though Dalio would argue the direction of that stabilization matters as much as the fact of it. The tribute system governed Chinese foreign relations for roughly 2,000 years. From about 200 BCE until the late 19th century, it was not an empire in the Western sense, as China did not occupy or control subordinate states. Instead, it expected difference and received it, with rewards for good relations and punishments, typical economic for bad ones. In the tribute system, relations are not being equals, Dalio wrote, but between superiors and subordinates that recognize their relative positions in the hierarchy. The last tribute system, historians know, crumbled under what the Chinese call the 100 Years of Humiliation, a century of foreign invasion, unequal treaties, and national trauma that began with Britain's defeat of China in the Opium War of 1839 and ended only with the founding of the People's Republic in 1949. Dalio's lenses on the dramatic events that saw the British take control of Hong Kong and open Chinese ports to foreign trade, among other things, focuses on the terms of trade that China was forced to accept and its diminishing influence over Taiwan, Korea, and South China Sea. These are all situations that he argues China will seek to reverse now that the U.S. has played its hand. Yeah, they can see that you won't be able to handle now. You know, they done built up their military, you know what I'm saying? America has shown that they can't even beat Iran. And matter of fact, you know, China was sending Iran a lot of weapons. So those weapons that, you know, China, they got all the data back. They know how those weapons worked against them. They can see what, you know, America was shooting at them to try and deter shit. You know, they got all the data. Even who else is doing it? Russia, too. And, you know, Russia, China, Iran, all of those are BRICS nations, you know, that's all hand in hand. And now you got all those Arab nations over there, you know, Kuwait, Bahrain, I think is the name of it. What else? You know, all these different places that basically Iran was bombing, hit all those military sites, you know, that America was supposedly been. See, America was supposedly have been their protection. And now America has been blown the fuck out of there. They're not in there no more. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be able to rebuild those spots like that, man. And then those Arabs, they're not trusting that you can protect us anymore. That was the whole deal. You supposedly be protecting us. But that shit is done. That's over with. Okay, so it says, these are all situations that he argues China will seek to reverse now that the U.S. has played its hand, but China will do so in a very un-American way. The full story of the 100 years of humiliation remains vivid in Chinese leaders and most Chinese people's minds. Yeah, they remember. And just like we see, the only people that's really not remembering like that, but I will say, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the Israelites are starting to remember. The Lord is starting to wake the Israelites up. He's starting to show us who our actual enemies are. So now we see, we know. But see, these Chinese people, they've always known America, these so-called white people, to be their enemies. They've never accepted them as their friends. That's why the scripture says to never trust thine enemy. But see, we've been so downtrodden and so fucked up under Esau Edom's rule that we actually believe that we're Americans. You got niggas out here buying shit to celebrate the 250th year anniversary of America as if they are fucking Americans. But these so-called Chinese, you don't think Japan don't remember 75 years ago, 80 years ago or so that these motherfuckers bombed they fucking shit? You don't think they remember that? They remember all that shit, man. So, and China got a very good memory. The motherfuckers keep history, man. They go back quite some time. It says, but China will do so in a very un-American way. The full story of the 100 years of humiliations remains vivid in Chinese leaders and most Chinese people's minds. Dalio wrote, arguing that it is not history to them, but a wound that reunification with Taiwan would help close. Yeah, they're going to get that shit back too. Because what is America about to do to stop it? They can't stop these people. They've already, they've shown their hand. Those Chinese people, they're pretty strategic, man. You know, the art of war, you know what I'm saying? They pretty patient. See, America, these Edomites, they got that microwave spirit. That you know, Esau, you know, selling his birthright for some food that wasn't fully cooked because he just had to have it. He's impatient. Those Chinese, so-called Chinese people, they not like that, man. They'll wait 100 years on your ass. They'll get you in 50 years. They ain't got no problems waiting 75 years to infiltrate your shit and set up everything, and then next thing you know, they on your ass. Okay, but it says Xi Jinping has been saying as much publicly in April as the Iran crisis was roiling global markets and the IMF was cutting its global growth forecast to 3.1%. Xi told Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez that the international order was crumbling into disarray, using a Chinese phrase that connotes not just chaos but moral decay. Fortune reported at the time that the comment reflected Beijing's view that the current moments of U.S. retrenchment represented not a crisis to be weathered, but an opportunity to be seized. Dalio said he suspects that Xi wants that reunification achieved during a potential new term beginning in 2028. which we're praying, man, we're not even here that long. Taiwan's own presidential election is scheduled for January of that year, and the island's KMT opposition party, which favors closer ties with Beijing, has been quietly meeting with both Xi and members of the U.S. Congress. A KMT victory could open the door to a Hong Kong-style arrangement, Dalio suggests, without requiring American military intervention or Chinese military force. He believes that model is returning and that Xi is actively engineering it through a new version of the 19th century tribute system. Fighting without fighting, yeah. See, I just mentioned this, the art of war. Dalio's framework from understanding Chinese strategy draws heavily from Sun Tzu's Art of War. Which they had that movie with I think that was Wesley Snipes and I can't think of my man's name, which he recommended that readers study. Its central insight: to subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. Ooh, gotcha, bitch. Let me see. Yeah, it's quite a bit more to the article, but you get it, man. These countries don't have no respect for Esau anymore. Let me get this one scripture. Let me see if I can find it in here. Isaiah 14:10, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? See, before America had all this might, Trump just done went in there and destroyed that shit in the past 2 years. Because had he chilled, but it was all about the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, because had he chilled out, had he just, went ahead and made America great again, like how he campaigned on, the people wouldn't even know that you're this goddamn weak. You went over there, you done all that shit, for those fucking Israelis, and now you looking stupid as hell on the world stage. And these Americans, they see it. These hard-blooded, they know, they see it, but Trump is not admitting to it. He has a problem with admitting defeat, man. But your whole arrangement with what you got going on with Iran right now, you've clearly lost. Everybody is saying you lost. It's just that you haven't accepted it. It's crazy work, bro. Let me see if this is what Obadiah chapter 1. Let me start at verse 6 here. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound unto thee. There is none understanding in him. See? Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And that's what's done happened. They looking stupid as hell out here right now, man. That whole cabinet's stupid as hell. Doofy as shit, man. From Cash Patel to Marco Rubio. But the only one that's got somewhat of some speaking sense, I would say, is J.D. Vance. And he's doofy as hell too for even being around them people, man. Because before J.D. Vance was talking all kinds of shit about Trump before he became vice president with this guy. So why didn't he just keep that same energy to begin with? He knew this guy was stupid as hell. Anyway, might be. I think I was in this earlier. What was it? Healed. How about Shemi? I was shy. By Shember Kakwadash. Yep. Jeremiah chapter 51. Chapter 51 verse. Let me start at verse 7. Not so much to this, but let me just jump to the point. Verse 7. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. So all these nations, yeah, they used to be down with America. You know, they drunk of the wine. You know, all these, I mean, even with those so-called Chinese, they do have attributes of America. You know, they got the skyscrapers. They dress in suit and ties and shit. You know what I'm saying? They'll eat a damn Burger King, you know, Big Macs and fucking Church's Chicken, KFC. You know, they pretty much, they got an American standard type, you know, or they following in behind these Americans, so to speak, you know, when it comes to a lot of stuff. You know, so verse 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into our own country. For her judgment reaches unto the heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Yeah, man, you know, the prayers of the men of the Lord are going up on this place, man, and Esau is being exposed. You know, shameful spewing is on his glory. The Lord is lifting up his skirt. Everybody is showing them. It's showing the world. He's being shown to the world as the wicked. You know, that 2 Thessalonians 2:3, it talks about how he must be revealed before the coming of the Lord. Let me see here. 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. See? So, first off, the falling away has already happened with the Israelites. Us so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans have fallen away from our customs, dietary laws. That's our way of life. Niggas just think they're Americans, man. Jake think that they are wherever they've been sent to in captivity. You know, they've taken on the customs of those particular countries. You know, mainly these Edomites. So that has happened. But this part of this prophecy right now is that the man of sin, the son of perdition, has to be revealed. So that's happening right now before our eyes. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he is being revealed. The Lord is showing the world who's the problem with the planet. See, they'll tell you, oh yeah, there's this red guy underground with the spandex, you know, red suit on. He's got the pitchfork. He's torturing everybody in this lake of fire. Skeletons are floating around. People are howling and screaming. You know, they're being tormented. Nah, man, that's not biblical. I say that all the time in the videos. People have to know that that's not biblical. The man of sin, the son of perdition, is a man named Esau, and he became the progenitor of a race of people, and that race of people today is the so-called white race, man. And we say so-called because Esau came out red, and they are actually a red-fleshed people, man. Their blood shows forth through their skin. Wasted away is he. So verse 4, it says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So, you know, he has given you these images of white God, you know, the son of God being a so-called white man, you know, the angels being so-called white babies and shit, you know what I'm saying? The disciples, the prophets, and everybody in the Bible being so-called white people, everybody that's righteous, so to speak, are them. I just done a lesson maybe about a week back with the Chinese actually doing a raid on some Chinese people trying to worship in white Jesus over there. You know them people don't care nothing about nothing spiritual. You know, they got that fat ass Buddha shit, but they not really into that neither. I done a lesson on these countries. I think is, you know, the top countries that are just straight atheists, straight carnal. And China is one of them. China don't want nothing to do with no Bible, no biblical, nothing. They raided a church and ended up arresting like 80 or so people. They let a few people go, but they be having church over there underground. You know, so the so-called white man has actually penetrated some of these so-called white people, got them believing that a so-called white man named Jesus is coming back to save them, and that's some bullshit, bro. That's how far Esau, the so-called white man's trickery with this idol white Jesus has gone. Where you got people all the way over there that's got their own little thing going on with their Buddha. They might as well serve their own idol. But you serving the so-called white man, like the so-called white man is about to come out of the skies and save your chinky-eyed chinky-eyed ass, man. But anyway, and the Lord's name is not no damn Jesus. But that's something that Esau has pushed, man. He's been getting away with that for a long time. And so now he's being revealed. He can't get away with that bullshit no more, man. Nobody believes that shit. That shit is a done deal. So Esau is being exposed. And it's a beautiful thing, man. So when you see little articles like this, right, and this is in Fortune. This man, it's not like this man don't know what's going on. Why you think he over there? He's over there because he's a fucking Edomite that's trying to keep his money flowing. And he knows where the money is going. He knows what's next. He thinks he knows what's next when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, the next financial boom, so to speak. He sees that right now, China has the ups when it comes to the economics, man. It just is what it is. And America is through. It's through. You can keep on believing that this place is gonna last as long as you want to, man. But you're gonna be everybody is gonna be in for a surprise when they see the strangeness of our salvation. When they actually see who's really next, that's when they're gonna be like, oh shit, what the fuck? And we can't wait, man. So I'm gonna end out there. Pray that the lesson was edifying. Kwame Yasha'Allah and the Bible Ball.